All right, class, this is part 3 of our Day 1 Literacy Review. And today, or for this review, we're going to be talking about the parts of our paper. So I've drawn it up a little bit bigger on the board here. Now, the reason that we want to know the different parts of our paper is because we have different kinds of strokes that we use to write our letters. And we need to know the parts of our paper so that we know the correct starting spot for those different strokes so we can make our letters beautifully and so we don't get them mixed up. All right, so there are, let's see, 3 important lines that we need to know about on our paper. This one is the bottom. It's the base. So we call this the baseline. Class, what is this? Good, baseline. All right, now this one we call the top baseline. What is this? Right, this is our top baseline. And this, let's see, it's dotted. That means it's broken up, right? It's not like this line that's not broken up. So this is our dotted line. All right, so class, what is this? Good, top baseline. How about this one? The baseline, excellent. And how about this? Right, that is our dotted line. Okay, let's do that one more time. What's this? Good, top baseline. How about this? Right, that is our dotted line. And this? Excellent, that is our baseline. So the other line that we see here is this. We call this the margin. Right? So the margin just means the edge of your paper, usually. So sometimes if we have paper that's like this, see this line going down? That would be our margin line. And so we wouldn't start over here. We'd start right by our margin line here. But as you know, if you were at our school last year, when we're using our practice paper, it doesn't have this margin line. So then we just treat the side of the paper like it's our margin. And the reason that the margin is important is we always want to start writing close to it. Not touching, but really close. So if I were going to start writing, and this is my margin, do you think I should start writing here? No. Let's see, how about here? I wouldn't even start there because that's about a clock space from our margin. I would start right about there. And if you think about it, when you're reading a book, you see that we use margins that way too because you want your writing to be nice and easy to read, of course, but but evenly spaced. And so I don't want to be starting here on one line and then here on the next. And we want to make sure it's consistent. And that's why this margin is important. Okay, because part of writing beautifully is making sure we have our spacing correct and that everything's consistent. And so the margin helps us with that. All right, so let's go through the parts of our paper one more time. What is this? Good, that is our baseline. How about this? What's this? Excellent, that is our top baseline. And how about this? Good, that is our dotted line. And what do we call this on the side? Excellent, that is our margin. Okay, so those are the parts of our paper. All right, the last thing that we are going to review today before we review how to write our first several phonograms and their sounds is we want to review our clock stroke. So remember, we have 5 different kinds of strokes that we use when we're writing our letters, and it's really important that we always start each letter at the correct spot and use the correct kind of stroke. One reason that's really important is it helps us tell B from D, among other things. If the students don't start in the correct spot, then there's a lot of things like reversing B's and D's. I even used to do that when I was a kid because nobody taught me the starting spots and the different kind of strokes. Ever since I learned that, I've never mixed them up, but without learning the correct starting spot, that is something that's very common for students. All right, so our first kind of stroke that we're going to do is a clock stroke. That's what it is showing us right here. We call it a clock stroke because it's round like a clock is, and it also has numbers that help us know which direction to go like a clock. All right, so when we make our clock stroke, we always start, say it with me if you know it, over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. Anytime we're making a clock stroke. So class, where am I going to start my clock stroke? Over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. All right, then I go from 2, I curve up and touch the dotted line, curve down and touch 10, curve around, touch 8, curve down, touch the baseline. We don't want floating letters. Make sure you touch that baseline. Curve up, touch 4, and curve up and touch 2. Okay, so let's talk through that again one more time. I'll do it with you, and then I'll move my finger, and I want you to tell me what I'm doing as I make my clock stroke. Where do I start? Good, over a space just below the dotted line. Touch 2 on the clock, say it with me, and you can do it in the air. You can make your clock stroke in the air while I'm doing it. So we're starting over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. Curve up, touch the dotted line, curve down, touch 10. Touch 8, touch the baseline, touch 4, touch 2, and then we will lift. All right, now I want you to tell me what to do to make my clock stroke. Where do I start? Good, over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. Now what should I do? All right, good, curve up, curve down and touch 10, touch 8, good, touch the baseline, touch 4, touch 2, and lift. All right, I want you to practice talking through making your clock stroke. All right, before you come back and watch the next video, I want you to be able to talk through all of the different things you do. If you need some help, you can just pause the video, go back, rewind it, watch it again. But we want to make sure that we're ready to do our clock stroke before we start writing. All right, that way we're not going to get anything mixed up and we're going to have more confidence. So keep practicing that. And one more time, let's review the parts of our paper. What do we call this? Right, that is our margin. And where do we start writing? We're close to the margin, right? Close, not touching. All right, and what is this line? Good, that is our dotted line. And how about this one? Right, that is our top baseline. And how about this one? Good, that is our baseline. All right, so our last literacy review section for the day is going to be, we're going to write our very first clock stroke letters. All right, so make sure you get ready with your clock stroke. All right, and I will see you then.